This interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. And if you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you want to get clarity on your purpose, you want to be able to break that down into bite-sized steps, you want to dial in your daily habits and routines and find out what may have been stopping you or sabotaging you in the past from achieving your biggest goals, getting that clarity, and really living your purpose, the 21-Day Challenge is designed exactly for that, to help you get unstuck, unblocked, and get back into flow so you can build a better business and make a bigger impact. Over 21 days, we'll be working one-on-one, daily progress reports, weekly deep dive check-ins. You'll have exclusive access to me. It's a very intimate and VIP and exclusive program. So if that's something that you're looking to jump into, send me a message on Facebook or chris@beyourgps.com. Looking forward to hearing from you and having you start your next 21-day challenge. Next is going to be the iTunes review of the week, and it is by a great podcast. And a great podcast says, powerful, practical, and authentic. I met Chris at a live event and knew he had a knack for attracting great people to his show. Because he is authentic and high energy himself, that's the kind of people he invites to his show. The result is some of the best practical, applicable advice you can get from people who have done the work themselves and can share what they've learned to shorten the learning curve for yourself. This is a great podcast. I really loved the episode with Lyra Kay because I could so relate to the kinds of mistakes that coaches make in building their business. So thanks so much, A Great Podcast, for giving us that review. We appreciate you. And if you want to give us a review on iTunes, go to beergps.com/iTunes. It'll redirect you to the iTunes store, or you can just search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. You'll find it there, or you can search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on Facebook and give us a review there. Wherever and however you do it, we appreciate the feedback and you letting us know how we can grow and step into our greatest possible self and make it even more awesome. Thank you in advance. Now, for the woman of the hour, she's going to be coming on here real soon. And before we get going on her intro, make sure you stay through all the way through the entire interview, because you never know what one golden nugget is gonna like be shared. One idea, what one transformational, pivotal, shifting idea or perspective can really make all the difference for you. So get your pens and your papers ready, get ready to take notes, get ready to stay through the entire thing, because I bet this is going to be an amazing, amazing interview. This woman is a powerhouse, so stick around. Jennifer Longmore is an international soul purpose expert and founder of the #1 Akashic Record Training School in the world and creator of the popular Heal Your Money Story Intensive. For over 15 years, she has conducted over 30,000 Akashic readings with the who's who of professional athletes, celebrities, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and more. When she is not running her various companies, she has fun playing adult Monopoly with the stock market and real estate investments, and even more fun going crystal shopping with her son, hiking with her dog, and enjoying spontaneous day trips with her honey. And we're absolutely blessed to have Jennifer here with us today. Jennifer, you ready to rock this?
I'm so ready to rock this. Thanks
So
for having
ready.
me.
I'm
ready
it.
to pounce.
I love it. I
Jumping
love
in my
it.
seat.
Awesome. Well, you're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thanks so much for showing up today to share with our audience how we can heal our own money blocks, and just to share your experience, how you've overcame your fears and really stepping into your greatness. So thanks so much for coming on, okay?
Thank you. I'm excited.
Awesome. Let's dive in. The very first question is based on the theme of the day. Today's theme is facing your fears. So Jennifer, how does this concept of facing your fears impact you in your life and your journey?
Oh my goodness. Well, I share this story a lot with my clients. When I first started a business, and I know everyone can relate to this, we're afraid. We're excited, but we're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was convinced that the client stork was going to come and bring clients to my doorstep that didn't know about me and had no way of knowing about me, of course, because I wasn't marketing myself. But somehow intuitively, they would know that I was open for business. They would come to my doorstep. I would do a Reiki session on them or whatever I was doing at that time. They would be picked back up and my business would just be in flow and I wouldn't have to do anything at all. So every day I would go downstairs, check my computer. There was no emails from clients. How come nobody's contacting me to book? I guess I should go to networking events. And then I would talk myself out of these networking events. And I would always have a good excuse, but it was really all just fear. And it was going on for about 2 months and my bank account was dwindling. I wasn't making any money. And I thought, you know what? This fear is now getting boring. I'm actually bored with this fear. This is ridiculous. I'm over it. I can't watch this movie anymore. Wow. So if fear isn't going to be moving me forward, I guess I could just have fun. Let's just go into a place of awe and wonder and see what happens. Let's go to a networking event and see who we're going to meet, what interesting story I'm going to hear, what business cards I'm going to get, what friends I'm going to make. And I just stayed in the energy of possibility. And that's what really shifted it. So I learned a lot from that years ago, that whenever I find myself pulling back or getting a little nervous, I just say, okay, well, what's the best that can happen? What's something cool that could happen out of this if I just go and do whatever that is?
That's awesome. So you, instead of acknowledging or focusing on the fear, you replace that and say, hey, what could happen? What is the best that could happen? And you focus on that possibility and that wonder and fun, so that energy takes you over, so to speak, in a uplifting and empowering way that gets you into action and creates better results for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I do, which I feel like I need to share for some reason, is whenever I have a fear about, I don't know, like I just went and shot a movie the other week. Okay, well, of course, the monkey mind is going to start trying to run the show. I call it when the monkey mind runs the show. So, okay, well, how much money am I going to leave on the table if I don't do X? Is it going to be $100 a month? Well, then I'm probably not going to be that motivated to change it. But if it's going to be probably a $10,000 a month generator that I'm just walking away from because I'm letting fear run the show, then when I put a dollar amount on it, it seems to, shift it so that I can put it into perspective.
Wow, that's powerful. And, I heard something that said if you don't take action just one day, it could push your dreams back as much as, 3 months or 6 months because you let that fear or that thing stop you. It's like we never know what one action or what one movie or what one, sales call or whatever could totally transform our entire life. So I think that's so true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So, Jennifer, thanks for sharing your perspective on facing your fears. And we want to get into a little bit more about who you are, what you stand for, and what your clients come to you for today. I read it in your intro, but just in your own words, why don't you share with our audience?
People started coming to me a long time ago for Akashic Record Readings. And what I learned from that is that I would get asked over and over again, what's my purpose? That was always the number one question. But the thing is that the same people would come back to me and ask me the same questions. So the forensic investigator in me kind of went, okay, well, what is it people are really wanting then? Like, what's the question behind the question? And I realized that most people actually know what their purpose is. We have a pretty good sense, but we're afraid of what's going to happen when we start living it. Are we going to be supported? Are people going to attack us? Are we going to be left to fend for ourselves? Are we going to have to take on more responsibility than we already have? Are we going to be knocked off the pedestal? And we have all these fears that come up. So we're constantly negotiating. Okay, well, I've got to live my purpose. I'm feeling this guilt and shame and judgment that I'm not living my purpose, but this other side over here isn't that appealing. And so we stay in limbo. We kind of stay in that middle of the teeter-totter. We don't really commit to one side and we don't really commit to the other side. So after a while, then I started offering business coaching because people would say to me, you've got this great healing practice. Can you teach me how to create my own? And I thought, okay, I guess, it wasn't really ever part of my plan. And I was stunned at how much energy was put towards not making money in their business. They were checking emails 8 hours a day. They were watching endless cat YouTube videos. They were publishing all kinds of articles that we all know has maybe a 4% return back to your website if you're publishing on all these online sites. And, just a lot of low dividend activities and wondering why they weren't making money. And I thought, okay, well, there's got to be a correlation between purpose and business and money. And what is that intersection? And that's how a lot of these money programs were born. I never really planned on talking about money. I just wanted to get back to doing readings and teaching classes, and that was it. But people just clamor towards it because as much as people want to say it's not about the money, it's about the money. Everything we do on this planet somehow is generated by money, and especially business. We have to pay vendors. We have to invest in our business. We have to pay ourselves. We have to refund clients. We have to chase people for money when they don't pay us. There's all kinds of money conversations we have all day long, including the most important, which is the sales conversation. So we have to get comfortable with whatever we think money means, what's behind all of that, so that we can just get out there and let it be neutral.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. And I'm sure you're going to dive into your journey. I want to go back to that in a second. But, one of the common, I think, misconceptions that people have is you can't be spiritual and be good with money. You can't earn lots of money and be a good person, or, be loving or be grounded in nature and spirituality. What's your perspective on that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I know. I remember going to a healing center that I was teaching classes out of for a really long time. And they had a really heavy poverty consciousness. And I always felt heavy when I went in there, but I always met amazing clients there, and people started using it as a hub. And so I would go and teach these circles, but I felt really heavy there. And I was already doing well in my business, but I felt that I had to be a good healer and drive an environmentally friendly little tiny car and dress in yoga pants and scarves and have my hair in a ponytail and whatever. And I never really splurged on anything, but at that time, the first luxury car I bought was a Lexus. And I was so happy in this car. I felt like it was an upgrade, like I was finally driving around in an energy that matched, how I felt in life. And I was driving to this healing center, which was out of town, and it hit me just before I parked. Oh my God, all of these people are going to see that I pulled up in a Lexus, and there's, all different kinds of cars, and what are they going to think of me? But that's what money does, right? Is it brings your stuff up. It's like, oh, do I actually care what they think of me? If they're going to stop working with me because I'm driving this car, there's probably a better fit out there. And that means it's also time for me to upgrade who I'm working with, right? Yeah. But we're so conditioned to worry about what people will think. And the reality is that having money or not having money doesn't make us any more spiritual or less spiritual. Money is just a tool. And that's why I commit to learning to day trade and invest in the real estate market and collectibles and gold and silver and all kinds of things. I'm trying to really master the art of detachment and viewing money as a tool and allowing money to be a part of my dream team to fuel my purpose. And I'm trying to teach my clients to do the same thing. So it's a journey, right? I still have my stuff kicked up all the time. I don't think it ever goes away. We all have a money story. It's just a matter of how healthy it is.
So I do want to get into your journey, and we're going to get there in a second. And I also wanted to ask one other question. For people who are quote unquote enlightened, like the Buddha, right? And they get to this place of enlightenment. How can someone be enlightened and be a master of money? And do you think when they're at this point of enlightenment, do the stories go away, like about money, and they just step into infinite possibilities and creation around as much money as they want? Or, as a human being, until we change what it means to be a human being, does that mean we will continue having these stories and blocks until the day, quote unquote, we die, or until we transcend that somehow? Like, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
It's a great question. I hadn't really thought about that. I know, like, I've been visiting a lot of Buddhist temples actually recently. And I've always loved Buddhism. I don't affiliate with any one particular religion, but yeah, they don't seem to be very attached to stuff. And I think that when we look at the yoga communities and we look at some other things, there's a lot of old paradigm teachings around you're noble and you're enlightened if you're poor. If you've released yourself from all of the earthly attachments, right? And you can be a great person and you can have a lot of abundance in a lot of different ways without those earthly attachments. For me, and I'm sure for a lot of people watching you, because you're a powerhouse and like attracts like, right? So we've probably got a lot of powerhouses with us right now and high achievers. Money has allowed me to accomplish things so much more quickly with my purpose and serving more people than if I had to keep waiting to borrow money or figuring it out or always looking for the creative solution. I don't have to exert all kinds of energy looking for the creative solution when I want to host a retreat in Greece. I can book the venue. I can pay for everything up front and wait for the sales to come in. I can, arrange for childcare and all those things I want to do if I want to go host a retreat overseas, or I can, drop money on a website, no problem, and let other people work on that while I'm doing the work that I'm here to do. It just allows me to create more speed for myself. So I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I think we want to look at, well, what is my actual belief behind why I don't want money or why I do want money? And making sure that it's coming from a place of, is this actually fueling me and my purpose, or am I just wanting this because I'm trying to impress someone, or I'm trying to seem noble or humble, or whatever the agenda is.
Wow. Powerful. All right, so we've dived into some random questions. I want to go back into your journey. I love random questions. And let's go back into the journey. What were some of the moments, especially where you had to face your fears and overcome those challenges, where you gained that wisdom about who you are, about what your soul is really here for, your purpose? Tell us about some of those pivotal moments that shaped your career, your journey, and ultimately your perspective on life.
I grew up in a very spiritual home. So I went for my first past life regression when I was 4 with my parents. And my grandfather was a psychic medium with the police. So I thought everyone talked that way. So I knew what my purpose was when I was like 2 or 3 years old. And the story's on my website. I'm not going to go into, great detail, but so I went to school and people were getting weirded out by me. And that was so uncomfortable because I care so much about people and I hate hurting people's feelings. And people were getting weird that I would know things about them that I didn't know I wasn't supposed to know. So I went into high school and I really just tried to fit in. Like I was trying to make myself normal. I was smoking pot and going to field parties and drinking and smoking and all that kind of stuff, right? Still getting A's, of course, because the good girl in me had to still do that. But I was kind of mad at God, creator, source, whatever you want to call that energy, because here I had this gift and I seemed to be hurting people with it and upsetting them and making them feel uncomfortable. And I didn't know how to use it. So me pushing it away or dulling it down didn't make it go away. So I decided to lean into it and started getting into crystals and past life regression and stuff in my late teens. Still went to university, went and trained as a forensic investigator, went and worked as a forensic investigator for years. And it was in that job when I was surrounded by poverty all the time. And I was poor. I managed to put myself through university on my own because I was raised to work hard for what you have. So I worked several jobs to be able to put myself through school. But I was surrounded by poverty, which is a very heavy energy. We all know that, right? That poverty consciousness just feels like a wet blanket. But more importantly, I was getting paid well, but after taxes and just everything else and being a public servant, I was either making just enough money to get by or not quite enough money to get by. And when I was about 25, it hit me like, oh my goodness, am I really going to live like this for the next 40 years? Is this really how I want to, like, I've got adrenal fatigue like crazy. I'm barely making ends meet. I've got to buy new outfits all the time to go to court and, just things, right, that we have to do for a job and all the obligatory going out for lunches and stuff. Is this really how I envision the next 40 years of my life? Is this what I went to school for? And at that time, I started meeting people because I thought, well, I would have to get a job doing Reiki or Akashic Records. And there was no jobs that I could see. So I thought, and that was my mindset, right? A job is the best way to make a living. But I started all of a sudden attracting people that had businesses. And that's when I realized, oh, I can do this. I don't understand what this is. These aliens are speaking some foreign language. Like, I don't know what all this entrepreneurial speak is, but I'm going to go and surround myself with them and learn to speak their language. I'm going to go hang out at their events and see if this is for me. And within about 2 years, maybe 3 years, I took the leap and trusted the net would catch me. And here we are today. But it was scary because I think there's some times that are better than others to start a business. Like, I don't believe any of us should go into massive debt to start a business because that's servitude energy, right? We're just paying for the privilege of helping other people. And that's not really where we want to start. But, if you have a little bit of money set aside or, you have support or you're really willing to sell a lot of your time and use your time to move your business forward, there really never is a perfect time. So at some point you just have to take the leap. And that is the scary moment, but the most rewarding too, right?
Right. And I think the best way that I've learned to look at it is like all there is now. So what can I do now to live in my purpose? Maybe it's not starting a business, quote unquote. Maybe it's learning how to develop my skills right now so that I'm equipped to start the business when I say it, like I'm opening the doors, so to speak, or taking that leap or, leaving my job. Am I prepared to do that? Do I have another stream of income that's constantly flowing that can replace that immediate source of business or working a job income? So I think it's like there's always something that we can do now to prepare to move forward to, take a course, even if it's like just a couple $100s or even thousands of dollars, it doesn't matter. But wherever people are at, there's always another step that they can take forward into their purpose. And I'm sure you've discovered that by helping people discover their purpose and live it. That's something that you constantly have to be reminding them that there is no perfect time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Okay. So along the path of doing 30,000 Akashic Record readings, what was like one of the most interesting things that happened to you or the most surprising? And you don't have to get into detail about the person, but just like what happened and why did that surprise you?
In the beginning, which I'm glad I did. And maybe people watching and listening can understand when you start, like I was just so excited to start my business.
Yeah.
And the fact that people were paying me was just kind of an afterthought. Like I just really loved the work. And because I was so open and because I was willing to work with anyone, I literally attracted anyone. I attracted people from the mafia that wanted to clear the regret and the trauma they had from having to chop people's hands off collecting money for the mafia.
Wow.
I'm not joking about this.
Wow.
I attracted a lot of massage therapists that were trying to decide and get divine guidance about which sugar daddy they should choose to fund their home on the water, which was always interesting. And well, you said in my bio, I had some clients that worked in the movie industry and they talk. So all of a sudden I had soap opera folks coming to me and execs at Walt Disney and like all kinds of people.
Wow.
And what I found most interesting about them was that they get paid to create illusion. And they were coming to me to help them, and for me to help them extract themselves from their own illusions, but they were so attached to the continuum of illusion and the energetics of illusion that they really pushed and pulled with me. And they would always try to negotiate. Like this one woman, I remember she wanted to quit smoking. And I said, okay, great. Well, let's go into the process of that. Okay, but wait. I only want to quit like 10%. I'm like, okay. And I understood her point.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, well, I don't have much control over this, but just know that if you're not open to this, it's not going to shift. And if you decide it's going to shift by 10%, I suppose it will. I don't know. I haven't ever done that before. But we do that, right? Where we kind of want to let stuff go, but we do this dance with it. But I think the most interesting folks I worked with were the professional athletes. I worked with a lot of professional basketball players, and they would come to me because they would have this, they would start off strong in the season and then they'd hit that wall, which we all hit. I call it the 11th hour. We either walk away from it or we lean through it, right? Yeah. Most of us will just walk away from it. But it happens to all of us, and it's a performance anxiety. And so they would get to this point in their year, and they would all of a sudden start missing shots that everyone expected they would get. Maybe they were known as the best 3-point shooter on their team. And then all of a sudden they'd be missing what would be seemingly, obvious ones, but they had just gotten a raise, or they were just told they were going to be getting traded and we're going to get paid more behind the scenes. Yeah. And sure enough, they'd sprain their ankle or they'd break a finger or something would happen and they couldn't play and they'd be benched. But they were smart enough to know that something else was going on. So then they would call me and they would tell me stories of, they grew up, a lot of these guys, the guys that I worked with anyways, grew up in the inner city. There was always drugs on the table. There were always guns. There were guys coming and going. Their moms had several different boyfriends. There were drive-by shootings going by. They were in really intense neighborhoods. And the guys that were in their moms' lives would always say, you suck, you're never going to amount to anything. Who do you think you are? You're never going to be a professional basketball player, like whatever. And so they would hear these voices and they would tell me, they would hear them as they're about to shoot the basketball. And I thought, wow, like how powerful is that? The programming we have as children that holds us back, regardless of whether we know what our purpose is, whether we're exceptionally talented at what we're doing, which these guys were. I know everyone watching today has their own zone of genius that you're probably already plugged into. And that isn't enough, sadly, right? We always have to be working on this mindset stuff, or we're always going to hit that 11th hour and decide whether we're going to stick it through or walk away.
So powerful. And it's like, no matter what level we get to, some people who are, let's say at the college level, they're looking at these superstars and they're like, you have every reason to succeed, every reason to believe in yourself. Look at how much you've accomplished. And it's each individual's journey and their personal demons and doubts and beliefs that like keep them stuck or stopped or blocked. And I think that's so fascinating how life works, how psychology works, how our subconscious mind works. And we're going to be diving into some of those blocks today and how to get rid of them once and for all. But I really think it's important for people to know that even world famous athletes have these challenges. So I think that there's also some grace and compassion to have for ourselves going through this and forgiving ourselves for being stuck or stopped by these things, and just keep moving forward and also keep tapped into powerful sources that will help you break through that stuff, like Jennifer, and she's about to go over that stuff right now. But I really want to acknowledge our audience for going however far you've gone, anything that you've faced up to this point, you've overcome some incredible challenges. And whatever you're facing right now, just know that life goes up, life goes down. It's like it's not always a constant. That's the seasons of life. There's growth and then there's death, so to speak. And it's important to ride the wave of the seasons and know that this too shall pass. So Jennifer, let's start diving into some of those blocks so that we can really be masters with our money, be masters with ourselves, our psychology, and really getting to the next level.
Let's do it. Should
All
I
right.
dive into the first one?
Let's go.
Okay. So I kind of mentioned it before. I learned this when I first started investing in real estate. People thought, oh, look at this ditzy blonde. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's asking for help. And, she doesn't know what's up and what's down. So I knew what my vision was. I had this very strong intuitive download. I was meant to build this real estate empire. So I just started interviewing people. I went out, found mortgage brokers and real estate agents and who wants to joint venture with me. And I saw this polarity very quickly of the people that instantly wanted to say no. Oh, that can't be done. And the people that were like, you know what, that is going to be a bit of a challenge, but let's find a way to make it work. And I found that I would lean more towards those people. I like the way they thought. They were in the energy of everything's figure outable. These other folks were already like, well, it goes against the rules. We can't do it. And so I learned from that, oh, it actually helped me better articulate who I was calling in as partners. I'm getting to my point around money. So I realized, oh, if I'm going to be building a dream team of people that are helping me build this empire, because we don't build anything alone, I want people that have a how can we make this work attitude. That's going to be who's on my dream team. And then I realized, oh, I haven't included money in my dream team. Like money needs to have an active voice in my dream team. I need to treat it like, it has a very active present seat at the table. And when I did that, that's when things sped up. I was buying real estate very quickly. I was delegating, hiring agents, spending $2,000 to go and acquire $2-3 million worth of assets. And it was all happening like that. And I realized, and it was scary because we're so used to working for what we have. I wasn't used to my money working for me. And I wasn't used to making money that quickly. Or that kind of money that quickly. So I learned that, money creates speed. And then I realized how many of us invest in technology to give us more time to make things quicker. But when it comes to losing weight, starting a business, growing a business, dating, like whatever that thing is we say we want, we take our time, right? Wow. We act like turtles a lot of times. So we have this interesting relationship with speed where, in fairness, we've been conditioned to believe that speed is a dangerous thing. When we all learned how to ride a bike, we probably fell off, smucked our head. People were panicking. Oh my goodness, don't go too fast. You're going to hurt yourself. And we have this program that runs all the time that speed equals danger. And speed, yes, in three-dimensional terms can equal danger, but in the energy of money terms, it actually just allows us to create more and keep the train moving and keep the momentum going.
Wow, that's powerful.
So the first thing for people to do is like check in on what is my relationship with speed? What are the programs that I have running? And where am I allowing, or where am I willing to allow money to be the rocket fuel behind the dreams that I have right now?
This is so fascinating because one of my relationships was with speed. Played a lot of video games growing up, and I used to use cheat codes. And so my relationship with speed is if I go too fast, then the game ends. There's no more fulfillment. There's no more excitement. There's no more adventure because I already got everything. I already got all the items, the equipment, and maxed out my levels, my characters, and all that stuff. And it's like I got bored. So I'm so grateful that you shared this because, everyone has their own relationship, and it might be, your parents telling you, don't go too fast, don't run too fast, don't run around the pool, or, like whatever it might be. And I think it's important to check in with this specific one. That's powerful. And I'm definitely going to be diving into that speed concept because it's important to not put a limit on ourselves. And if we put a limit, a glass ceiling, whatever it might be, and I'm sure we're going to discuss more about that, but being too fast, making too much money too fast is a glass ceiling that people probably have in their subconscious mind that they don't even know about. So is there anything you'd recommend particularly about addressing a subconscious belief like that?
Yes, I'm glad. Well, even just a practical tool, I'm so glad you brought this up because that's what happened to me when I got to a place in my business where speed was making me generate income really quickly. I hosted an event in Sedona, and I made 500,000 profit just from my upsells.
That's awesome.
For a 3-day retreat.
That's awesome.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, what now? Like, I've done all these things that I really thought I'd never, like back when I started my business, I didn't think I'd ever accomplish, right?
Wow.
So I've had these retreats, and I've, now got coaching programs, and I've released some books, and all this stuff. And I realized, I have to stay in the energy of what's next. Because that when we stop, then we stop allowing ourselves to make money, because it's very easy in that moment to say, well, what's the point? I've generated way more than I need right now.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just not bother for the rest of the year. And a lot of entrepreneurs get to that place. That's when I started learning. I said, okay, well, I've been working for my money though. Like, now I want to let money work for me. So that's when I hired a mentor, because mentors create speed, to learn how to invest in the stock market. So that's when I learned how to, and I arfed up really bad in the beginning, but at least I was making those mistakes, not some random guy that was managing my account at a bank that I didn't know, right? Or woman. So I learned how to invest in the stock market, and then I hired a mentor to teach me how to invest in real estate, because I wanted to see, like, how else can I stretch myself and allow money to work for me? And then what am I going to allow that money to do? So right now I'm learning how to do day trading, which is a very different beast than doing longer term investments. And it's very volatile. The market's very volatile right now. But that business is so that I can start my animal sanctuary. I have to buy a big piece of land, and I have to hire people to look after the elephants. And, these are not animals in captivity. These are animals that are already in captivity that have been removed because the zookeepers were abusive, or, just things, right? And so providing a home for monkeys and tigers and all kinds of animals that are going extinct, but that requires constant capital, right? And so I kind of view that as free money. I'm letting that build and then redirecting it towards that project. But if we don't have that why, then we do kind of stop and we don't keep going. But we have to stay in the question of what's next and what's the best that can happen. Because with every level, yes, some people will fall away. Some people are really great cheerleaders. They're not so great at being with you when you're actually in your potential versus when they're observing you, moving towards your potential. So sometimes we outgrow people, but the universe never leaves a void. So even if people fall away, it's always replaced with new energy that's either the energetic equivalent or higher. And, but there's so many other opportunities that are available to us when we keep the momentum going, and when we let the energy and momentum move us forward rather than our constant efforts and, pushing and pursuing and forcing things out there.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So really create that speed with mentors, with getting unstuck, unblocked by asking the question of, what's next? What's my purpose? What's the highest good that I'm going for? And also what's the best that can happen? Really staying tapped into that wonder and that possibility, because that's really light. And when we're feeling light, then we can move quickly. If we're feeling heavy, then we're really slow. If we're feeling, like it's weighted down, like, oh my gosh, this is such a big responsibility. I hope I don't mess up. I hope I don't, make the wrong decision, whatever it might be. Like, that is heavy. So the more light that we can be, the more that we move quickly from one place or one station in life, let's say making 6 figures, to be able to make 7 figures, is by staying in that lightness and staying in that possibility.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. And it's very natural for our brain. With all of these points I'm going to share, it's so natural for us to instantly focus on what's not working or what don't I want to happen. So many times, and you may have this too, when I first start coaching with someone else, I'll say, okay, well, what would you like to see over the next 6 months? Let's say, well, I don't want this and I don't want, and I'm like, okay, but what do you want?
Yep.
And a lot of times people can't tap into that. We really don't. We're disconnected from that.
Right.
And that's part of the issue. So we've got to train our brain to start focusing on what I do want, even if it's just about, I want to feel light or I want to feel abundant. You may not have an exact roadmap. That doesn't matter, but let's start moving the brain away from looking at all the wet blankets and really focusing on, where things are blossoming.
I love that. Wet blankets. That's a Jennifer Longmore signature right there. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So Jennifer, what is number 2, or what would be the next one?
The next one would be that we misidentify money with power. Money is actually influence. So if you think of someone like Richard Branson, why is he able to meet with the Dalai Lama and be invited into global initiatives and be a part of international policies and negotiations and all kinds of other things? It's because he has money. I'm just using him as an example. I don't know him. I don't know his story, but most people know who that is. But we've been taught to believe that powerful people abuse their power. They misuse their money. So there's financial abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, whatever the type of abuse is. We're either afraid that we're going to start acting like that, or that when we have more money, other people are going to act that way towards us. So we do a push-pull. We let in just enough to feel safe, but not so much that we put ourselves at risk of being attacked. Wow. And even when I think of lottery winners, I don't know if anyone else thinks of this, but I think the first thing I think is, oh, geez, I hope the first thing they've done is gotten a good lawyer and figured out a good safety plan for themselves and like change their name and change that, before they even go and collect that money. I hope they've done those things because we all hear the stories, right? But we think when things are happening to other people, we automatically assume, well, if it happened to them, it's going to happen to me. And we start bracing for things that haven't even happened before. So we want to remember that money, I guess we can buy power, but in an aligned way, money is just influence. It gives us a voice. It allows us to have impact.
Yeah. Wow. So,
and that's really what we're all craving.
So for people to change that thought pattern, is there anything else you would recommend, or do the same ones that you mentioned of what's next, what's the best that can happen? Is that the kind of go-to questions?
Just also writing out some memories that come to mind, either people you can think of, even if it hasn't happened to you, it's just things you've observed or things that have happened to you where money was misused or power was misused, and really get clear on what is my current understanding of power and what do I actually want my relationship with power to be. Wow. Because part of being, having a wealth consciousness and part of having a profitable business and really living in alignment with our purpose also means us fully embodying our power, not the three-dimensional, like conflict-oriented power we associate with, but the essence of who we are. We've got to be able to pull that in. That's where our power center is. So we do need to make peace with it one way or the other. Money is just going to facilitate that for us.
Powerful. Beautiful. So that's block 2, right? And we can overcome that by understanding and looking at memories of things that come to mind of how people misused power, and then say, that's not who I am, make a declaration, cross it out, do whatever kind of rituals we want to do to release that, and then replace it with a more empowering belief, a more empowering vision of how we show up when we have money, influence, and power.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Block number 3.
We are very tribal by nature. We started this planet in a tribe, and it's in our lineage. It's just in our DNA. So when the tribe is carrying a story of we're all poor, let's bond through poverty, it could be your family of origin, it could be your friends, it could be whatever. But this other part of us says, but no, I want to have wealth consciousness. Or, everyone wants to be eating like Doritos every night for dinner. And you're like, no, I want to have Brussels sprouts, right? Like when you go against the tribe, we know historically, because it's in our DNA, that we're either going to be shamed, blamed, judged, banished from the tribe. Yeah. So if our choice is always toe the party line and pretend that I buy this poverty consciousness stuff when I really believe in this wealth consciousness stuff, or I can lean over here knowing that people are probably going to kick me out or mock me or whatever they're going to do, again, we stay in the middle of the teeter-totter. We don't commit to one side, we don't commit to the other, because these are unconscious, right? Unconsciously, we're anticipating that the tribe's going to bump us out. We have a sense of torn loyalty.
Okay. And what do we do to overcome that?
Sometimes your tribe does suck. Like whatever tribe you're loyal to. Because a lot of people will say, well, what do I do if I still have to be in touch with my parents and stuff? Well, we don't have to do anything, but we have been conditioned that we're bad kids if we're not in touch with our siblings or our parents or our grandparents or whatever. The key is to build the tribe where you do feel at home. And money can be that tool. It doesn't have to be. But call in the energetic matches that are on this planet right now that can be a part of your tribe that you can go to and share your wins and know you're going to be genuinely celebrated. That's actually more of our fear, right? everyone wants to debrief with us when life sucks. Oh, you poor thing. Let me come in and help you and rescue you. But when things are going well, a lot of people get weird about that. So we need to have tribe members that not only celebrate us when we're doing well, but celebrate us when we need a safe place to say, I really messed this up and can you help me? Or I'm really disappointed because I launched this thing and it didn't go the way that I wanted to. And that way we can offset some of that stuff. So we know we at least have one tribe out of however many tribes we have. That's a safe place for us to be. Yeah. Like, I don't talk about money with my parents. I know, I can see that they do the math in their head. You know, she's holding a class and she's charging $9.97 a person, and she probably has, you know, I can see them doing that stuff, right? Yeah. Or this year I just happened to travel a lot, but a lot of it was for business. And but they don't really ask me, and I don't offer it. I just change the subject because I don't owe them anything. I'm not obligated to share with them what I'm making, because vibrationally, I feel what happens to them when we talk about money. They instantly pull back. I learned when I first started my career, actually, I was already making more money than them. And think about it, I was on a public salary. Yeah. So I could feel them at that time going, oh my goodness. And I just thought, you know what? This is a conversation I'm not willing to have, because they don't have the capacity to hold space for me. That's really what we have to check in on when we're sharing business successes or money wins, is, does this person sitting in front of me right now in this moment have the capacity to give me the reaction that I want to have from them?
That's powerful. And going back to the when you are in a kind of depressed situation, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10 in your emotional, like 1 is like, I'm hating life, I'm about to, die because I'm so unhappy and depressed and miserable. And then 10 is like, complete ecstasy and so much joy. I think people want us to stay between like 4 to 6, like they want us to be like in the middle range, in the average, and anything too far outside of that evokes an emotional response from people. If we're too far below, they're like, oh my gosh, we got to help you, we got to save you, we got to do something to get you back to that mediocrity middle zone of 4 to 6. And if you're too high, people are like, what the heck is wrong with you? What are you on? Like, you're weird, it's like, what the heck, it's why did we get programmed like that? I don't know. I don't care. And I loved what you said about surrounding ourselves with a tribe of people who really get us, who really want us to be at a 10 all the time. And I think that just takes time to focus on who are the people that has that kind of a mentality, that have that kind of mentality, and how do we continue tightening our circle to keep us in that space. Because especially as we keep growing more and more, someone who was like excited to see us at a 10 when we were earning 6 figures, when we get to 7 figures or 8 figures, they're like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're a jerk. Like you're abusing your money, or like making up stories, or being not a good person, right? So I think it's just really fascinating, the journey of life, that the people who serve you and empower you to be a 10 today may not be that way in a year. So I think you said that earlier. It's like people come, people go. They're here for whatever season in your life that they are. And I think it's just fascinating, and 100% agree that it's about who you surround yourself with, that tribe of people who wants you to succeed, who believes in you, and is constantly empowering you to raise your bar even more, to be fulfilled, be happy, be at that level 10. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yay.
Silence is good. I love silence. I love silence too. So that was block 3, and let's move to block number 4. What is that?
Well, similar to your point around that zone of mediocrity, or C, someone will correct me. We call it the tall poppy syndrome, where poppies kind of grow at the same level, but there'll always be those few little pesky poppies that want to grow taller than all the other poppies. And then when it's time to trim them down, those are always the ones that get trimmed down the first. And we know that inherently. So when we're standing tall, all of a sudden we can feel other people around us getting nervous. We start to shrink, right? And try to get in that, I call it the good enough zone, the 75% zone. Because 75% is above average. It's a decent grade, you're going to get through life above average. And there's really nothing wrong with that. I don't know that I'm at a 10 all the time either, right? Like sometimes I just need a nap or a drink. No, just kidding. But we're torn between, well, do I excel knowing that other people are going to be, making comments? Or do I let myself, or do I kind of stay where the tribe wants me to be? And as long as we feel like, and this is poverty consciousness, by the way, as long as we feel like it's either this or it's this, it's and or, we'll always stay stuck. We'll always have some sort of lack and limitation energy running, because the wealth consciousness is in the and also. I can have this group of friends, and I can also have a tribe of money-making friends, and I can have a relationship with my parents, and I can, be a #1 best-selling author and still be liked, and. So we've got to train our brain to always look for the and also, as opposed to it's either this or it's this.
Yeah, it's powerful. And I see that like showing up for people who want to build a brand. It's like they want to, here's the thing though, because it's like we want to build a brand and impact as many people as possible, right? And help as many people as possible. And I think when entrepreneurs get into business, especially, they get to figure out who's the perfect person that they serve and like align their energy with that. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on not having an and perspective in that, or maybe it's this right now and I can add on more later, or this right now, or I can add on more later, it's like, because it's important to be singular in our focus and not be distracted, and to be tapped into what's in our highest and best good and stay connected with that. And typically in marketing messaging for a business, you want to be specific in speaking to, let's say, one person. You're speaking to this person's soul who you know intimately, who you know that this message is going to resonate. I'm curious if you believe in that, or what your thoughts are around that.
I like that question. I have different perspectives on niching, because I think, yes, absolutely. People need to know. We can't help people if they don't know how we can help them. That's the bottom line. So it's our job to be clear and really working on that throat chakra, right? Really expressing, here's who I am. Here's how I can help you. Here's how you're going to feel once we get to the other side of this. Here's how you can contact me so that we can create this transformation for you. And, I see a lot, especially a lot of healers and people that are really anchored in poverty consciousness will try to be all things to all people. And you'll see that on their business card. And if you've got a business card like this, please don't be upset when I tell you this, not you, but anyone listening. If you've got Reiki master, theta healer, massage therapist, craniosacral therapist, crystal grid worker, all these freaking names, no, cut it out. I read that and I go, she doesn't know what she's doing. I don't understand what how can you help me? I don't know. I don't need to know your titles, but what you're trying to do is appeal to all people because you're coming from a place of poverty consciousness, right? It's okay to offer those later, but to just pick that one thing that people will understand. Because humans still communicate 3-dimensionally, even if we're all spiritual beings. It's not about the Reiki, for example. It's about the fact that you were looking for Reiki, you came across me because we're meant to meet. We're going to have this session. There's going to be a harmonic exchange that was meant to happen, either because we have past life stuff to work out, or for whatever reason, those harmonics were needed in that time. And thank you for the 3-dimensional word of Reiki. It's not really about the energy work, right? That's just kind of the stuff that brings us together. The other piece of that is some people niche so rigidly and don't get business because it's a way to keep themselves safe, right? So here's what I've learned in all the years I've been doing business coaching, and I've learned this about myself too, is that we form certain stories as a kid, and we decide that the rest of the world is going to be like our parents or our siblings or the teacher that was mean to us or the kids that picked on us. And unconsciously, we go through life bracing for that. Then we start a business that says, hey, everyone, I'm here. Come and pay attention to me. Come on over to my house. And unconsciously, the fear of I'm going to get bullied again, I'm going to get criticized, I'm going to be abused, I'm going to be told I suck, or any of those things that are still up there, we niche excessively to keep people away because we're secretly relieved that they're not finding us, because then we don't have to feel unsafe. Or we price ourselves so ridiculously high out of the market that people won't pay us anyways. And we can go, well, people just, there's a lot of poverty consciousness out there, or they just don't know how much value, there's all these stories. But whenever I talk to people who don't have full classes or don't have a full coaching roster, when they're honest with themselves, they'll admit that they're secretly relieved that nobody signed up or that few people signed up, because they either are worried to be overly responsible for people, or they're anticipating the past is going to repeat itself.
Oh, so powerful. I love it.
That's our deep,
That was deep.
backhandy moment of the day.
I love it, Jennifer. That was good. Good. Okay, so we got our last final block. Let's cover that.
Yeah. So I'm sure it goes without saying that self-worth is in there. And I believe there's two set points we have as entrepreneurs. Well, we all have them, but as entrepreneurs, they really get kicked up. One is the self-worth, one is the deserving. So we can know that we're worthy of charging, $20,000 for an annual coaching package. But if nobody's signing up for it, we want to check in and say, okay, but do I believe I'm deserving of that? And they seem like they're the same thing, but they're actually not. We can know that we're worth something, but we can still feel like, oh, I'm a bad healer for charging too much. I don't deserve that. Or I didn't work hard enough for that package. Or I didn't do X amount in order to be deserving of that. Alternately, we can feel deserving of having a thriving business, but we may not feel worthy yet of charging the rates that everyone around us is saying we need to be charging. That's just an example, right? Yeah. So inherently, and I hear this so much, when we drill down to what's really behind all of the money stuff, it always comes down to worth. Always, 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 because there's always a question behind the question. Each one of us as a human being, regardless of our sexuality, color of our skin, religion, etc., we all want to be loved, accepted, and respected. And we all fear abandonment and rejection. And self-worth falls in that. So all of our actions are driven by either wanting to get more love, acceptance, or respect, or to avoid abandonment and rejection. And that's what drives our spending. That's what drives how we allow money in. That's what drives how we present ourselves to the world when we're still not at peace with those things. Wow. And feeling unworthy means that, I have to then go into protective mode and avoid abandonment and rejection because I'm already not lovable, not likable, and not respected based on that mindset.
Wow. So what can we do to shift that worthiness and deservingness?
I like to tune in. When we're willing to listen to our higher self, it will always be honest. So every day I like to tune in and say, okay, self-worth, where are you at today? And on a scale of 1 to 10, it will tell me, you're at a 3 or you're at a 10 or whatever it is. And then I'll ask the same of deserving because I want to make sure they're relatively on the same page. They're not always at the same level. And then based on the one that's off, I'll start writing out mantras. I am an infinite money magnet. I am an infinite client attraction magnet. People clamor to work with me. I am wealthy. I am, kind. I am whatever. And I just start writing all kinds of I am statements, including I am worthy. If the deserving piece is off, I'll say, I am so deserving of having a full coaching practice before the end of this week. Because I am. No justification needed, right? Or I am so deserving of having a sold out retreat, after one email that I send out. Yeah. Because I am. Yes. And I just go into, I like to say, especially when I need a confidence boost, I'll put freaking as my middle name. So I'll say, because I'm Jennifer freaking Longmore and I am so I encourage all my clients to do that. When you use freaking as your middle name or some variation of that, right? It becomes fun. You're like, yeah, I am Jennifer freaking Longmore. Of course that's going to sell out. And it just shifts the energy, right?
I love that because I totally relate with that. I was at a retreat and we were doing this exercise with coals, like walking across hot coals, and like right before we get to declare who we are. And I was like, I'm Chris freaking Burns, but not freaking. I said the F word. I was like, I'm Chris effing Burns, like. And I was like so empowered by it, and it was just super awesome. So highly recommend that as well. It totally lit me up and was just such a powerful declaration. Amazing. Yeah. So I love that. It's really the we want to be loved, we want to be accepted, we want to be respected, and we want to avoid fear and we want to avoid abandonment and rejection. And really to shift that is to tune into where we're at and create strategies to be able to for the affirmations, like affirmations that shift our whatever the number is to be higher, to shift that deserving or to shift that worthiness. Super powerful, Jennifer. So we're beginning to wrap up now, and we want to know what's the final piece of wisdom that you want our audience to get from this interview because of their time invested here with us today?
Ooh. Well, I will say that everything that you want has already been created, and the imprint of that is in the divine mind. So if you want to have a 7-figure business, there are several other people that have already imprinted that, cosmic intelligence into the divine mind, or infinite field of possibilities, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it. Everything that you want to create has already been created, and then it's just up to us to go and access it and constantly command it. I don't mean demand as in a diva kind of way, but command it vibrationally, that same wisdom is downloaded into you, so that it just starts becoming part of your reality.
So powerful. Amen. Because you deserve it and you're worth it. You're infinitely valuable and amazing. So, Jennifer, let's tell our audience how they can stay connected with you, and what do we want them to do next so they can continue their journey with you?
Oh, well, I spend a lot of time on Facebook. I have a group called the Purpose Posse, which is for scaling your purpose-based business. So that's a great place to find me. I also have a free money download, which kind of goes into detail with what we went over today, but a little more in depth. So that's www.souljourneys.ca/money.
Okay.
And that way, we can stay in touch and you can get tons more value.
Yes. Awesome. Jennifer, you're a freaking rock star. Thanks so much for coming on today. Loved having you on. I hope you go find some amazing crystals out in your crystal field in your backyard, and just have an amazing rest of your week, and keep up the great creation. I'm excited to see what 2019 has in store for you with your investments, with your animal sanctuary. When that comes, that's so amazing that you're doing that. And thanks for being another light in the world, helping people be and become their greatest possible self. You rock.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time.
Awesome. Awesome, Jennifer. So we will see you soon. Have the best day ever, and take care, okay?
All righty. Bye.
All right. Bye.